We are in the project from the last video where we talked about HTML. We added an image, a header, subheader, paragraph, link, and list, and then the P5.js canvas. I want to replace my code here. I'll go ahead and link this code that I'm going to replace the canvas with in the comments below. So this is some code that I was just playing around with in P5.js, and it just looks, slightly more interesting than the other one. So I'm just gonna take all of this and paste it into VS Code, and it works just fine. I'm going to make the canvas into the background layer at a later time, but first I want to talk about the basics of CSS. And then we can move on to JavaScript, which is the most fun and interesting thing, and the language that you're going to spend the most time with. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It's a style sheet language made for HTML elements. We put HTML elements on the page, and then we decide how we want to design them, and that's where CSS comes in. The HTML document here, in the header here, there's a link to the style sheet, and we need this guy to be linked in the HTML document in order to have anything that we do over here in the style.css. We make changes here, it will, if we don't have that link, it won't work. So just make sure you have that. Here we can see that there's a couple of things already here if you've copied over from the P5.js website. CSS is written with the selectors here. These are called selectors. So I'll just write it out here, selector. And then you have an open and closed squiggly bracket, and you could have two selectors if you want, or you can just have one selector. But these are referencing those HTML elements. So say you select the header and you want to apply different, make it look different. Well, that's, you could do H1, open, close, squiggly. That's how you would do that. And then inside of the parentheses, we've got our properties and our property values. So the left side is a property, so margin is a property, and 0 would be a property value. So I'll just write this down. And so just like you can have multiple selectors, you can also have multiple properties. So this way of writing CSS is a rule set or a rule. Rule set or a rule. So I'm going to get rid of that, and let's just put it into practice. So because I have Copilot, it is guessing what I want here. Let's also go into our chat and see if we can prompt it to give us a list of property types and values. Yeah, if you're new to all of this and you have AI can just help you learn. So let's see, I want to definitely change the color, so I can come over here and be like, okay, color is a property. So I'll do color and colon, and then this is a hexadecimal value. So if FFF is white, and it pops up with this square, so you can click on it, and actually I'm just going to change the color from here. And then anything else that you want to change the header. So right now it's set, everything's set at a default font. So if you want to change all of the font types here, you can go into the HTML and body and do so we see here that it auto-filled with the font dash family colon Roboto, I don't know, in between the open close tick marks because it's a name, and then sans serif is the type of font, so sans serif, meaning without the little serif ticks. And then if you take off sans, you can see that there are now ticks here. And then I don't know if this is actually Roboto, but I'm guessing it is. Let's see if we change this to Arial Narrow. Yeah, it changed it a bit. So cool, I'll just keep it at that for right now. You can also go into Google Fonts and grab fonts there. So I'm in Indian Web Docs right now, and here it says CSS layout is mostly based on the box model. Each box taking up space on your page has properties like padding, border, and margin. So whenever you're dealing with an element's properties, maybe you want to play with the padding, border, or margin, and the padding, it would be the space around the content here, and the border is obviously just this border that is encapsulating the content, and the margin is the space between the border, or if there's no border, maybe it's like the space between the padding and the edge of the page. So for the header, I want to center on the page, so you can come over here and see some of these examples, and text aligned center centers the text. So I'm going to go ahead and add this property of text align and a property value of center. Both H1 and H2, I want them to look the same, so I will add that selector into this rule. So before we mess with the image, I just want to talk about different types of selectors. So types of selectors, and so far we've been playing with element selectors, I think is the right word, which is our P, right, our H1, H2, div, etc. And then there's, oh nice, auto-filled, so there's ID selectors. So these are all HTML elements with a specified ID, and you can call them by doing this, ID name, in the CSS rule that you create. You have class selectors, so these are all HTML elements with a specified class, and that is represented with a dot and then the name of the class. Attribute selectors, so this is all HTML elements with a specified attribute. So with our image, we need to use an attribute selector. So that's why I'm describing this. An attribute for an image would look like this. IMG, open close brackets, and inside you just put the tick marks and the source location of the image, or SRC, because we already have the source in the HTML doc. So coming over here, checking this out, you just need, yeah, probably just like all of that. So one last thing that I want to talk about with selectors before moving forward is there is a pseudo class selector. So the pseudo class selector is specifying an element like A for our link, but only when it's in a certain state. So for instance, hover. So this, whatever happens in this rule will only happen if I hover over my link. So I could change the color whenever I hover over it. We can test it out. Oh yeah, and add a comment again by front slash star backslash. So you can keep your little notes here if you need. So yeah, let's see. A hover, and it just auto gave me that purple. So we'll test it, and it works. So that's cool. You're gonna use this attribute selector. So let's just do image. If you do IMG, it seems to have worked. So, but it might do it to all of the images. So if you want to actually choose a specific image, if you have multiple images, you might need to add in the open and close brackets here. But this is cool for me right now. So display block. Apparently you need the display block in order for this to work. And that's probably due to what I was saying before. As the CSS layout is based on the block model, you have to sort of tell it that this image is a block, and then you can change the margin left to auto and margin right to auto, which centers it. And the same thing goes for our canvas as well, if we wanted to do that there. 50%, using a percent, specifies the width of the content area, padding area, or border area, depending on the box size of certain boxes. So you could put px, which means just like the pixel size. You can see it's very small. But if you do percent, it is based off of the overall page. So if you do 100%, it should be, yeah, the width of the screen. So I will keep that at 50%. And if you do height auto, then it just keeps the ratio consistent here. Center our paragraph. P, text align center, it read my mind. We will center the link. A, open close, I don't want any of that. I just want to make it into a block, or sorry, use display block and text align center. Ooh, and then we could also give it some padding on the bottom. So padding bottom 10 pixels. So move it up slightly so it's not just sitting on the edge of the page. Cool. So yeah, I think I want to just add a color behind the header area. So if you go into index.html and you see that header 1 and header 2 are inside of this main tag, in the style.css, you can use main as a selector, and just go ahead and change the background color to something else, and antique white seems fine for right now. And then it's got this little space up here, so I'll do padding top 10 pixels, and cool, it covered it up, so that's good. Lastly, before we get out of this tutorial and move on, we are going to deal with making our P5 canvas into the background of this page, this website. So we'll move over into our sketch.js. Oh, make sure you save. It has this little circle up here, you see, if it's not saved. So just save your work and go into sketch.js. We've got create canvas here, and it's currently set window.innerWidth, window.innerHeight. So it'll change based off of the size of the screen that you're on. You can't really tell because I've got HTML elements here. So we need to make this create canvas object, give it a variable, so we'll call it canvas, and I'm gonna make it a global variable, so say let canvas above the setup function to create the variable. Use dot notation, canvas dot position at 0, 0. So this is going to force start the canvas at the upper left of whatever page it's on. And because I've got window.innerWidth, window.innerHeight, you can see that it covers up the whole screen, and no longer can you see the HTML elements because it's on top of them. So we have to move the canvas back a little bit in space by using the Z axis. Say canvas dot style, open, close, tick marks, Z dash index, and then comma, position it at -1 within these tick marks here. And so it's literally just like pushed it behind all of these HTML elements. Yeah, this is not super pretty at the minute, but maybe I'll tweak it around a little bit and make it look better. Okay, so I'm done making some little tweaks here and there to the CSS and also my JavaScript canvas as well. So what I did here is whenever you hover over the image, it gets higher in opacity and less when you're not hovering, and it's also beveled. The edges are beveled, which you can do with the border of the image. And let's see, hello world exists. I have created a background color that is transparent, so you can see through to the interactive bubbles behind it. And then my paragraph, I added a break here so that it would always have 2 lines. And I changed the text because it was super boring. So I had ChatGPT write up in the style of H.P. Lovecraft a little poem about math, and it goes, in the shadowed corners of the cosmos, where angles deviate from Euclid's grasp, numbers whisper the madness that no human mind can truly comprehend, which is better than what I had, so I'm very happy. I should put a little quote by ChatGPT right here, probably, but that's okay. And let's see. Lastly, I made everything scalable, and I also, this background here, a problem that I was having was that whenever I scrolled, the background didn't like fully, like it would move up with the scroll, and so you would see some white space down here. So I just want to show you, point out like a couple of things about like just keeping good scalability. So scalability meaning, you know, when the page is a different size, it still sort of functions more or less how it should. This isn't perfect, but that's okay. And so with the background staying in place, here in my sketch.js, I have it pushed back with this Z index to be behind my HTML elements. And then I also, to ensured the canvas stays fixed, so its position is fixed. So whenever I scroll, it stays just as it is. So that's perfect. And then over in style, whenever I'm messing with the padding, amount of padding and borders and stuff, I'm using, instead of px for pixel, here you can see VH, which is for viewport height, and VW, I think would be viewport width. So that's just how you can make it scale to different screens properly, so that looks good on both this screen and whenever you open it in the browser, it also looks good enough on this screen as well. Again, not perfect, but it'll do. And whenever I full screen it, it looks pretty good. In the next video, we'll talk a little bit about working with JavaScript and these elements here, because for the most part, we're just going to use JavaScript anyway. This is just a practice so we understand HTML and CSS and we at least know that we can change things. So we'll talk about that. And then after that, we'll talk about hosting our website on GitHub pages. Happy coding.